Okay, so if you could each just like introduce yourself, so just give like your name, that would be great.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
Okay. My name is Yasmine Foty. I'm in seventh grade, and I play guitar and I sing. And I've been playing guitar since I was 4 years old, and I just started playing the tabla.
Hello, my name is Fairouz Foty. I'm a member of Foty Fusion. I'm a cellist and an opera singer, and also the artistic director of Quartertones Music, which is our music academy that's associated with Foty Fusion.
And my name is Fuad Foty. I am the father of both Fairouz and Yasmine, and I'm a member of Foty Fusion, which is a family band, and we've had it for years to go. Of course, the members, are adults and they're out of the country sometime, and this is the remaining of Foty Fusion for now. And I'm also the Arabic music specialist at Quartertones Music, which is a music school here in Washington D.C.
And so just each of you can just say yes, but do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yeah. Yes.
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 Great. So what brought all three of you to this event today?
So we were invited by Lucy Murphy. We've been involved with the activist community in DC since we were kids, from our grandparents to my parents, to us, and now Yasmin is the fourth generation. And we've always been part of an activist struggle that talks about all issues across the globe. And us being Palestinians and being indigenous people and knowing how it is to experience colonialism and oppression and occupation, we especially identify with the indigenous people because of everything that they went through. So we are very honored to be part of this event.
So would you mind kind of elaborating on kind of the relationship that you see between Palestinian and Indigenous experience?
Sure. So I think now, especially with, the Black Lives Matter movement and many different movements kind of coming up, there seems to be a decompartmentalization of these movements where, in the 60s and 70s, there was a real connection between struggles. And it was really, especially the Black Power movement, it was really connected to the African liberation struggle and to issues of justice all over the world. So as a Palestinian, being in a land that was taken from us, by a colonial entity, which is Israel, we identify with a colonial force taking over what our own land. So, which is very similar to what happened to the Native Americans. I understand Native Americans don't understand ownership of land in the same way that maybe Palestinians identified with it because they don't believe in ownership of land, but it's a similar struggle because if anybody owns the land, it would be the Native Americans because they were here first. So to see like a systematic genocide of these people and then the appropriation of their culture and the dehumanization of them and then subsequently taking their land and creating a whole new country on top of it is very similar to what happened to us in Palestine. The appropriation of our culture, the taking of our land, the genocide of our people, and then creating a whole new country on top of our country, and denying our existence that we were ever there, which is very similar to what we learn in American U.S. history textbooks here. So we always find a very strong connection between what happened to the Native Americans and what continues to happen to the Native Americans and what has continued to happen to the Palestinians.
Right,
If you guys
right.
would like to
Actually, yeah.
elaborate.
I would like to also say, in terms of the Palestinians, if you look at the what was proposed before Israel became a state in 1948, was kind of like a two-state solution, where the Palestinians have so much land and everything, and you could look at the map. In fact, there is a map that's amazing actually, that shows how they just kept on eating. I don't know if you know the what is it, Pac-Man? Okay, just eating a little pieces here and there and so on. And then Israel was only just a little sliver right there next to the next to the sea. I mean the settlements, you know. And we know here the settlements kind of similar. You know, they just came in and took and kept on growing and growing and growing. And now, if you look at it, they actually advocating in having like little Gaza, even not even Gaza, the Sinai area to be Palestine. And in fact, there are some Israelis who are actually advocating for such a thing.
Very
So
similar to Manifest Destiny, like pushing out of the indigenous people. And it's very important to show the commonalities in this struggle, because if you really look at it, there's every single issue of injustice, we can come together to fight together, because the majority of people are being pushed out, are suffering. And if there's a mass movement that really speaks to this, then it would just connect all of the struggles all over the world. So we love to support all of these different movements all over. I mean, in DC, there's so many movements that we've been a part of, and now the Native American indigenous struggle is one of them. Yes.
So I know that you guys are fans. So how do you feel that like music and activism can be connected?
Yasmine, do you want to talk? Okay, I will say one thing about actually our music academy. So our school is called Quarter Tones Music, and every semester we focus on a different genre or different theme. And actually this semester we're focusing on American protest movements through song. And it's a perfect segue for your question. So one of the songs that we taught our students, and they actually performed it for Indigenous Peoples Day through a virtual choir, through the People's Music Network that Lucy Murphy invited us to. Is called "We Were All Wounded at Wounded Knee," which is a song by Redbone. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's Redbone is a native rock band from the 70s, and they actually created this song in 5 days when they were inspired to create it, especially with what was going on the Lakota reservations. I believe it's the Pinehurst reservations, and they created this song and they tried to have it, here in the United States, and they said no, we will not have this song. So they actually went to Europe, and it actually blew up in Europe, and that's how it became very popular. And so what we're trying to teach our students is that music has always been a very integral part of social justice movements, and we're focusing on the United States, but we have always been taught by our dad and by our family that music is a way of touching people and moving people to think about issues in an emotional way, so that they're more open to actually thinking about the more political issues. So Yasmine's phone.
To add to that, I think the whole idea of the children learning history behind music. Sometimes you can have a nice song going, everybody likes the beat or something like that. That's all good, but to actually see songs that have a message that kind of inspires them, it resonates in their mind, and they would want to sing it again and again. And I think what Fairouz had done, which is really actually a very good thing, is have all the kids kind of, as a choir, they all, helping each other out and singing the same song over and over again actually can go a long way, because these kids, when they grow up, they're going to think about that. They're going to see what happened, with people who were wrong, in life. Not just the Palestinians, of course, the Native Americans and other people around the world. And that's why I think that's a really good, powerful thing that Fairouz is doing in the school.
And we're trying to really focus on underrepresented peoples. So I'm a classical musician. I'm an opera singer, so I'm very much entrenched in the Eurocentric classical world. And I'm not saying that I don't want our students to learn classical music and everything, but we find it very important to represent other genres that they wouldn't necessarily get exposure to, and that there's a strong historical component to their education. So they're not just learning these songs in isolation, but there's a history that is taught to them before. We have representatives from different groups. Like we're actually very excited to have the Uptown Boys come and do a drumming workshop with them. Everything is virtual right now, so on Zoom. And we're really just trying to expose them. It's not it's just an initial exposure because it's not exhaustive by any means, but we want them to know that there's other types of music, and that music is not, especially with music getting defunded so quickly in schools, that music is very powerful and it can be used to really promote change, and that their voices matter. And so by being part of these virtual choirs, they see how their voices really do matter in the long run, and how they can continue to use their voices in positive ways.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So last year, the DC government officially replaced Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. Why do you think that change happened when it did?
I don't know. I'm very happy that it did.
I have an idea. I think in general, we were almost in during the Obama era and everything. Oh yeah, we got rights for this or that, like maybe the gay rights and other rights were a reason. And then I think of it more like a pendulum, Sometimes it swings to the left and sometimes swings to the right. Well, we are in the midst of, it swung to the left really badly, I think. And then it's about time that people were fed up, and also the politicians have to follow the people eventually, not right away. And what's happening because of the Black Lives Matters and other issues that are progressive, in this country, and also, even climate change is a big deal, and it is a progressive idea, and everybody is affected. So people are changing in a very dynamic way, and then they that would explain why DC government would want to go along with what people really want.
So what do you think, Yasmine?
Well, I remember constantly being told in school about Columbus Day and celebrate Columbus, and then just recently it stopped, and it just shows that how history isn't really the truth, and when people refer to history, they're referring to one person's perspective of history, and I don't think, basically, like the past is the truth, but we don't really have any documented information, so we'll never know the truth of the past. Yeah.
Very nice.
So, what are your thoughts on the language change?
I'm sorry?
What are your thoughts on the language change?
On the language. Oh, I think it's a very good thing.
What is it, language?
Or to change to Indigenous
to change
people.
the name of it.
Language change. Okay, I understand. Sorry. I think it's a very well. What do you say, Yasmine? What do you think about changing the day from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day?
Well, I'm not really sure.
Do you like the idea?
Well, yes, I like the idea.
For the same reason why the Redskins should change. You know what I mean? Because if we stay with these old ideas, oh, Redskins is okay, or call a black person the N-word or something like that, it's not acceptable anymore. So what will happen is that a little bit at a time, and apparently what happened is that there's a movement that made this happen, for the Redskins. For the Indigenous People Day, yes, I think Virginia followed suit as well. And so if Virginia, DC followed, oh, hey, Maryland might follow, and then the other one might follow. And there is some kind of a tipping point where things will just, boom, everybody wants to do it. And I think it has to start somewhere. And it takes a courage to move from point A to point B so that we can have that tipping point later.
Yeah, I think it's a start. I don't think that by any means it's like, I think a lot of times when labels change, people think like, oh, we live in a post-racial society, we're good, like everyone is being accepted. I think it's a really great start because a lot of people were kind of surprised by the fact that it was changed Indigenous People Day, and so they started learning more about who these Indigenous people were. And there's some really great resources for students like the Howard Zen Project, and so I think that it's a great start, but it needs to continue. It needs to we really need to change the way that U.S. history is taught to include the people that were massacred in this country, the people that are continued to be massacred all over the world. So I think I'm very happy for the start, but I really don't want it to stop there.
Anything else that you'd like to talk about or say?
No, we would love to share with you We Were All Wounded at Wounded Knee, the virtual choir, if you would be interested in seeing it. And we would invite you to come to our final performance where we've narrowed it down. It was supposed to be 10 movements, but it's a little ambitious. So we made it 7 movements now, where we're going to have 7 different virtual choirs. And we would love for you to attend over Zoom if you're interested in coming. And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.